mic check. Am I audible towards the end of the room? Awesome. All right. Very excited to get this discussion started. It's a very, very eminent panel. And what I loved is that, we are all ready to wing it. And everyone has been very open. So which means that we have a very wide, set of content that we want to cover, right from AI to hyper-personalization to future innovations and things like that. And you have a panel that's raring to go on all of these topics. And the best thing is that we have representation from FMCG, from organizations like Bombay Shaving Company, from a D2C startup like Zoff Foods, and of course, veterans from the industry like Royal, Home Credit, PB, etc. So it's going to be very interesting. Very warm welcome to all of you. Let me begin by asking the question that is top of mind for many of us. Now that there is so much of advent of AI and big tech, and analytical abilities in marketing have gone to the next level, how has that impacted your marketing strategies and brand communication? And I was thinking maybe that we can start with you, Akash.
See, data is like a gold, and earlier when AI was not into the trend, so everyone was trying to analyze data with their different ways. But as AI has entered, so AI has become an important part in personalizing data. So whatever data we are getting, it's completely personalized as per the consumer. What's its need, how he's behaving, if he's buying something, what's his behavior before and after. So AI is just trying to give consumer the personalization what a consumer needs. And as per that, there's a high chances of conversion. So I was reading somewhere, due to the help of AI and the way it's giving you the data, it has really helped in increasing the conversion. So I think this is a new trend, and everywhere, every business, every startup, they are trying to use it, they are trying to leverage it so that they get the best out of it.
Oh, that's truly amazing, and you bring up a great point that AI is actually helping in driving conversions. It's effectively helping in driving better performance. And we have seen that very closely at Taboola as well, that when you are using AI on top of your creative communication and media strategy, you're able to bring a lift in your performance. And what we also hear is that a lot of time is getting saved and it's increasing productivity as well. So Ashish, would love to hear from you, like in your view, what are the key metrics that have been positively impacted by use of AI and personalization?
I think personalization itself, from the day, very first day when Web 2.0 came in, this was when you opened up for two-way communication, when you opened up for co-creation. I think with Web 3.0 coming in, when asset ownership is distributed and you can have the entire tech playing around, I think some of the metrics which are becoming more and more important, for example, is about engagement metrics. As a brand, you start looking at engagement very closely. You start looking at, now you are able to dissect the data and being able to bring in insights about where this engagement has happened. You can walk from being at the, so earlier the funnel was tofu, made and bofu. Now there is something called as top, middle, bottom up, and all of that. So your funnel is no more like just a 3 parts, but it is like some 30 different parts, which essentially enables, as a marketer, as a brand, it enables for you to be able to create or enhance the overall consumer life cycle value. That's one part which is happening on the engagement part. As far as the AI is concerned, I think what we are today looking at, what AI is enabling you to do is, you had the data always available and you were able to create X amount of insights out of it. Data itself is useless. I mean, data is like just a heap. It's everywhere, and today we are in an age of having more data than having less data. So it's not, data is completely useless to my mind. What is important is critical insights. I mean, data saying if I'm a 60 years old male is just a data. But knowing about that I am 60 years old male who is into a diabetic situation for a pharmacy organization, that I need to have X amount of penicillin shot every month, every morning with a 3 ml is insight. Insight about whether I go by
True.
sweets
Actionable
or not.
insight.
Yeah. So AI is able to help us cut down the effort which it takes to drive insight from data. So you can dissect, and what it also enables is, rather than it leaving the power into some back room, it's bringing the power right onto the marketer's table. So you are no more dependent on raising a request to some god in IT or data science who will come back after 3 years, 35 days, saying by the time event has passed. You can sit down and do it today. At no point in time I'm trying to big bet on IT or data science, but it used to take that amount of time. It's a manual effort. So what you are automating is the manual effort. And then you can, on top of that, innovation, what we call it, innovation is nothing but experimentation to a marketer. Whatever experiment goes successful becomes innovation. If it is unsuccessful, nobody talks about it, to be honest. It was just a failed attempt. So what you are doing is, with this entire machines getting in between, your experimentation is becoming much more possible. So you can have a very, very selective sandboxes. Rather than having one sandbox, you can have a million sandbox running every day where you can do your experimentations. And I think these are three very, very three very key enablers which have come in hands of marketers with the advent of AI in today's time.
Really nicely put. And I love how you're talking about, data is nothing without an actionable insight. So just, building on that thought a little bit, and Gaurav, would love to have your view on this. When it comes to insurance as a category, we do hear that, the kind of insights are very different, and the kind of consumer behavior that is to be influenced is also different compared to other categories. People want to read and research a lot before making a decision. It's highly competitive as a category. On one end, you are, doing a lot of performance marketing to impact the low funnel, but you also have to generate a certain amount of search queries and volumes and things like that. So for you, how do you identify actionable insights in a category like that? And are there any success stories and examples that you would like to share with our audience where you've used tech to enhance all of that?
Certainly. So the way I look at it is, there are prospects in customers. There are two segments primarily, which is customers who have taken insurance but never claimed, and the customers who have claimed. Customers who have claimed are always happy. Customers who have not claimed, they're not happy, because for them it's a cost. It's not an investment currently. Not for most. I mean, for most of them it's like that. Not for all of them though. In last 2 years, since the time I'm with Royal Syndrome, what we've done is we brought data from across wherever we have the data in one clear view, which has helped us to reduce the cost of acquisition for the D2C channel by 50%. Right? It is. I do remember this conversation having with my line manager when I was getting interviewed, that I told him I'll make this channel profitable in 3 years. We did that in 2 years. Right? So all that we did is data, not just data, but the insights from the data, customization, localization to quite extent, which has actually helped us to be where we are today. Right? And this year again, we are launching a few campaigns using tech and insights, which is going to propel us much further as a channel. Right? So normally, from a D2C channel, digital channel in any insurance company is not more than 4%. We are nowhere close to 4% as of last year. But this year, it's going to be a game changer for us. So, and
Amazing.
all this with support of tech, AI, personalization, localization, just talk about everything put together. Yeah.
Amazing. So at Taboola, we do a lot of work in insurance as a category, and several of our partners are very happy with the kind of results that we deliver. And when we ask them that what they love and they love about using Taboola, this is exactly the response that we get, that it's a combination of artificial intelligence and hyper-personalization. So while I can understand that it applies beautifully to insurance as a category, I'm curious to know, Gauri, from you, how does that become relevant for FMCG, which is, so many SKUs, price points are very different. And over the years, customers have built a certain habit, and you are in a category where you have to break, I would say, habits that are maybe 50, 60 years old. So please tell us how tech is helping you break these age-old habits.
So actually, it's really interesting because some of it is part of what everyone said, but just on our D2C, for example, what we're able to do is personalize even the listing cards for every consumer now. And of course, it's Shopify enabled at part, but what that does is improve our CTRs by almost 50, 60%, right? And then we take the same experiments and scale it across e-commerce, and the results just keep multiplying beautifully. So that's one part of how AI is helping us. Personalization is of course very, very core to, I think, across categories, right? So the fact that now we don't just send personalized messages as text or CRM, etc., but it's also voice-enabled messages that we're able to send out, which are personalized. It's just taking the your classical CRM open rates and conversions, etc., to an absolutely new high. So while that's more on how D2C and e-com is kind of seeing it, I think for us, even on the creative side of it, right, what we're able to do is let the consumer imagine for himself or herself what it would be to use our products. Now we've got one product which is called a head shaver, which is for men to take care of their bald a bit easily. But it's when we show it to them and when we let them imagine themselves on how they will look when they go bald, it's game changing, right, for somebody to actually use the product and buy it versus you just keep telling them, hey, this is great for you. The classical 10-line communication just doesn't work anymore. So it's a lot of what L'Oreal and these cosmetic companies did at small scale. We're able to do that now manifold across multiple products by showing multiple models without actually doing those photo shoots, because you take that one model and with AI you're going on changing his face and his beard structure, and you get like 100 creatives with that one photo shoot. So it's just amazing the multiplicity of points of communication that we're able to create.
Very interesting. And if I may also ask, I see Bombay Shaving Company do a lot of work offline and also online. And sometimes what you do in offline creates noise in online. So is there a way that you sort of, handle that? Do you have a digital war room? Do you deploy a certain kind of tech? Like, what's your way to bring about a marriage of online and offline in the FMCG environment?
So I think a lot of what we do on ground and offline is, one is of course availability, as any classical FMCG does, but the second is also on-ground content creation, because it's great to see these reels and influencers kind of create stuff, but what we try and do is do an omni-channel approach to content, which is do a lot of stuff as activations, classically offline, but take them online and do multiplicative, personalized messages to consumers so they find relevance of what we're doing and building content offline. So that's how we kind of marry the two together. So we did something called Razorpreneur, because we couldn't match up the market leaders' might on budgets. We said, let's go on ground, and rather than telling people to buy from us, have them sell for us. So it was a take on building entrepreneurship and saying the best way to be an entrepreneur is actually to learn how to sell. So you buy our razors, and like a sell me a pen challenge, we'll give you a sell me a razor challenge, and we'll actually mentor you. Now we combined that mentoring with technology, with multiple mentors online to those students or aspiring entrepreneurs, but actually went on ground with them also to help them kind of learn the skill more one-on-one. And I think it's the amalgamation of the two which creates some amount of magic.
Amazing, and I think that brings us to our next topic, which I'm sure many people in the audience are also curious about, which is omni-channel marketing. How do you really combine, your online and offline worlds, and how do you do it in a way that is cost-effective and eventually leads to ROI? So maybe we, switch to this new topic with you, Nilima, and maybe you can shed some light on your omni-channel marketing strategy.
See, when brand started, people always said that brand is a investment. brand is an investment, but people never knew how the brand investment is going to pay in the short term, because it was all for the long term. Thanks to AI and what we can do with the data, you can directly connect it back to results in the short term and also build relations for the long term, because data and personalization is enabling you to do that. Omnichannel is a great example of how this can be done seamlessly from online to offline. And we said brand was always a seamless experience. It was supposed to be seamless in whichever channel you go, in whichever media you see, and wherever your buying experience is, at home or online or in the store. So omnichannel actually beautifully does that. I can give you example from Luminous, wherein we are also trying to strengthen that further with generative AI right now, and also adding the propensity modeling to it. So Luminous, I don't know, many people may or may not know, but it's an inverter battery company and also has solar solution. And power cuts, 50-degree temperature outside, everyone can relate it. So how do you do your stock planning, that where there is 50-degree, what kind of product should go, where it is 30-degree, what kind of product should go? So this is all data propensity modeling which we are trying to do today, so that the stock planning, demand forecasting, and then ultimately when the product is there, how do you then communicate to the consumer, whether it's 4-hour power cut, what's the product which you should use, and if it's 10-hour power cut, what is the solution you should take? With solar coming in, why you should switch to solar, all these things, there's a lot of content which can be today easily generated because there is AI available. And I can tell you very clearly that I have seen it's the best time for marketing. It's much more easier than the way it was earlier. The blogs, the articles which you are able to generate on solar, or why you should switch to solar, or how your product can be fitted with solar, is so easy to make today, whether it is video or it is just a plain static content. One more thing which I have felt is when you do go omni-channel, and I'm giving you another small example, you open the pack and you get a user manual. So product companies, all of them still go into that. But we say it's a digital AI-enabled world now. And in Luminous products today, you will not find physical user manual. What we simply did was converted it all to videos, or it is audios, or you take those and scan and go to the website to read it. But these are small changes. I think it's a matter of adapting and changing, which I can talk from the omni-channel experience.
Very interesting. I really liked what you said about how much easier it is to create content today, especially on topics like solar, where the originality of knowledge doesn't exist so much. So you're able to use the tools available to you, and you're able to do more of blogs and not just raise the profile of your brand, but also educate the customer at large. And I think bringing about those cultural changes and those knowledge changes is the dream of any marketer. So that was a great example. And just building on that, Sachin, would love to hear from you. How are you using content marketing in your category, just to make the customer more aware and increase his knowledge as well?
Sure. So, the kind of business we are in, unlike Bombay Shaving Company or, maybe Zoff Food, our product is consumed maybe once in 3-4 years or 5 years. In case of an unsecured loan, if it's a secured loan, maybe, home loan once in 10, 12, 15 years. So, content is something which is available to us as a channel to engage with our consumers. Because in our industry, the awareness levels are very low. If I give you an example, till about 6-7 years back, when we launched India's first free credit score platform, people were not aware what credit score was, and what is the importance of credit score. Usually people, got to know about their credit score and the value of it when they applied for a loan and got rejected.
Or is this related to the CIBIL report? Is it the same one?
CIBIL report is just one of the bureaus. There are 4 different, so that's again, so CIBIL is one of the 4 bureaus. There are 3 other bureaus in the market. So while CIBIL report is in today's days like Surf or Xerox, People use CIBIL report for credit score, but there are Highmark, Experian, and Equifax, and they are all equally important. While the way they calculate score is a little different, right? So content marketing for us is a way to make people aware about the importance of credit score, about the importance of taking right credit decisions, making people aware about the effectiveness of a particular product in a particular need. So just to give you an example, today if you have a running home loan, if you need funds, your first instinct would be to go for a personal loan, right? Because that's advertised more, and you would say that, okay, I need this money for, let's say, 1.5 years. Why not take a personal loan? I'll repay it. You will get that personal loan at about 12-13% interest rate. But if you already have a running home loan, it's always better to take a top up of that loan,
Right.
because you will get that loan at a much cheaper interest rate, right? So it's in our industry, it's all about awareness, and that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to spread out this awareness using content through different channels, whether it's our own portal. So just to give you a perspective, we get roughly 45 million visitors on our platform every month, and a large chunk of that traffic comes on our content pages, not on the journey pages. So these
That's
people,
amazing.
they come on our platform to consume that content, to read about it, to watch it in the form of videos, or maybe and see this content in the form of infographics. So that is the power of content. And later on, when they have interacted with us, through and this is the entry port for most of our consumers. Later, when they need a loan, we become the first choice.
No, that's amazing. And I think what you said about people actually coming and reading about content more, I'm sure that also increases the stickiness of the user.
Yeah.
And I think, as a brand, you stay in their mind more. So I'm sure that's of great benefit as well. So, content is something that I think is special to any marketer. But what we've realized, at the Bula is that while content is king, context is the queen. So you may be doing a lot of content marketing, but the way you distribute and when you distribute and what you do with it also makes a huge difference. And timing is key. So for example, when New Year happens, one of the things that goes really viral is the content that is, let's say, put out by the likes of Zomato, etc., where they're talking about orders per minute and they're showing interesting heat maps around where their riders are and how things are peaking around 12, around 12 in the night and so on. So it's data representation done in a very interesting way, but most importantly in a very timely way. And people love to, retweet those kind of, data snippets, and it just creates a healthy competition between, let's say, between Zomato, Swiggy, etc., and the whole category benefits. So I'm keen to hear from this panel anything in contextual marketing that you have observed, loved, been inspired by, or have done yourself, where there was something cool happening, let's say by way of cricket, entertainment, sports, etc., and you latched on to that cultural moment and did something interesting out of it, or maybe you saw some other brand do something that you felt inspired by.
So I remember one example of it in the last World Cup. In fact, before that also in our last IPL, we are not advertising in this IPL, but in last 2-3 years, we have advertised in all big cricket tournaments, and the line was score check kiya kya, and we were talking about credit score, right? So when people saw that and it started with a with a cricket visual, and then we say that while this score is important, checking your credit score is as important as checking this score. So that was one thing, and it was a very successful campaign for us. Did very well.
Any other example of moment marketing that you'd like to share? I think the audience would be very keen to know.
So this brand is on IPL. So obviously IPL cricket, there is a lot of contextual marketing which happens around it. And one of the things which when we were talking to consumers, they talked about that cricket you don't want to miss because of power cut. And then when we put this out there saying that cricket may no power cut,
Very nice.
it was something which I think the most talked about and most discussed about during this IPL and the last IPL in this sector. But I also sometime back remembered one of the ads of HP wherein they were also talking about, it's a very cold category. Technology, always very cold. How do you connect back? And when it was one of their global campaigns where they talked about homecoming during festivals and Christmas as one of the homecoming time, Thanksgiving, and then how they could beautifully relate to all printing as a message, which has got a lot of sensorial available, and people know that in the digital era printing is going away. But then again, not without technology you can print good sensorial material around it. So this is where you can bring good content and context together
Very
for the
nice.
category which is actually not being so relevant anymore, or you're seeing diminishing returns on all the investments you're making.
Amazing. I think you were also sharing something.
It's okay. I mean, if we have time. Okay. So I think, see, as a marketer, any opportunity one should be able to grab, and I have a couple of examples of our own doing so. Just before this, I used to work for a life insurer. Yeah, and I think most of us might still remember COVID period. I think we had one of the longest running campaign at that point in time. In fact, the interesting part was that the moment the PM came on TV saying that there's a lockdown, within next almost about 45 minutes we were up with the campaign called as Lock in Good Habits, and which then later translated to something called as Masters Who Speak. We had words best. So if it was marketing, we had David Acker coming and talking about marketing to open audience. If it was about a strategy, we had Tom Peters talking about a strategy and stuff like that. That was one. Second, which is very close to my heart and probably I'll remember always, I used to work for Hero before this. And if you recall Kerala floods in year 2016 when they happened. And as it happens, there was this kid from Tamil Nadu who donated all her savings, almost about 8,000 bucks, which she had kind of accumulated to buy a bicycle. The news was published like a snippet in Dinamalar. And because of and here comes the beauty about technology. I wasn't even in the country at that day, not to show off, but I used to handle operations, and we had just bought a company in UK, and I was kind of there. And I think it was just because of that, because it was Saturday, I had nothing else to do. So I was scrolling through, and suddenly there is a pop-up saying that there is this news, sent it to a friend, got it translated, got to know that she has donated all her life savings, which were kept for buying bicycle.
Wow.
And we immediately took a call, tweeted around saying that we give you a free bicycle for life. So as many times as you want, Hero will give you bicycles. And I think no amount of media investment could have got the PMOs to Shashi Tharoors of the world to...
Amazing.
You talk about one person, and I think for next almost 68 hours, we were trending globally. And I think
Amazing.
those are the things, that's the power of when a tech, a business process, and a marketer gets aligned. And that's somewhere close to brand purpose. Certainly.
Well, that's why your example reminded me one of the recent context. So solar, many of you know about it. It has got more than 90% awareness. Last 10 years as a country, a lot of marketeers are trying to create a category, do demand generation. And boom, one PM statement on Har Ghar Solar. And look at the awareness and the context in which now it sounds everything so relevant. The category is growing by more than 140% suddenly. And then look at the awareness, education, understanding around it, because of also Ayodhya, when first time it came with solar. So sometimes it's also the timing when the context becomes relevant. While solar was always important in net zero environment, and this kind of context along with the data and technology, and then the marketing and the brand building capability, it's very rare moment which can happen once in few months or years.
No, absolutely. It is so special to hear that. I think both the examples are outstanding. And it's the power of timing, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's the holy grail of marketing. You crack that and you have a memory for life. and you've left behind a tremendous impact.
Kanika, I want to
Akash?
add one,
Yeah.
in terms of moment marketing, I think Zomato is the best when it comes to moment marketing.
Yeah.
I think they have so many. But one, I remember of Nick Ice Cream, this Mother's Day. So they had a full page of advertisement where they were just provoking mothers how they used to stop their kids in taking ice cream. So there were many lines. So one lines which I remember is, "एक आइसक्रीम से तबीयत खराब नहीं हुआ है मेरा." So like in their ad there were so many lines, अलग-अलग type का, where like they were just provoking mothers कि इस Mother's Day में like mothers will buy ice cream for their children, and I got to know that their sales just increased by 10x with that
I thought
ad.
the children will buy the ice cream for the mother.
That's for the small children. So with this
Since it was
ad, they were
Mother's
just
Day.
trying to make the mother emotional. कि एक आइसक्रीम
ये
से
तो fair
तबीयत
नहीं है. Mother's Day पे mother is only buying the ice cream for the children.
So anyway, mothers buy like for the small kids. So this was for the kids. So I think
I hear you.
that was really a good ad from their side, looking at the situation, and they really had the good jump in the revenue. So yeah.
No, that's great. Akash, in fact, just to talk a bit more about contextual marketing, I also feel like it's an interesting example for those of you who don't know that Akash was actually on Shark Tank. And I'm sure, being able to present his product in that sort of a contextually relevant environment must have been hugely beneficial for your brand and business. So I'm sure the audience would love to hear firsthand your experience at Shark Tank.
So I think that was a lifetime opportunity which we got going into the Shark Tank and pitching our idea and getting the fund. That gave us the huge level of marketing. I think without spending an amount, even they gave us the money and they gave us the marketing worth of 15 to 20 crores. Getting around 20 minutes of screen time in Sony television and social media also. So I'll share you like 2-3 months back when season 3 was going on, our one clip got viral, and within 15 days it got 3 crore views. So even after a year, that ad was trending where we were asking, Namita, my brother, asked whether you know 4 masalas or not. So I think that platform has given us the desired marketing which any new brand will ever think of without spending that level of money. And I think after that, customers started noticing us because spices is such a category where customers are sticky to the brand which they've been using from so many years. But, and means they are not ready to change their spices. But after Shark Tank, I think they have tried our product. We have more than 1 million customers who have tried our product. So definitely it was a big change for us. And from there, even we have seen the growth. Our business got double. It was nearly 100 crore last year. So I think we got what we wanted at the initial stage of our career.
So this is on behalf of all the budding entrepreneurs in the room. What's the secret to cracking and getting featured on Shark Tank?
So there is no secret. Like it's your business, like how you are doing, and it's some luck also. If they like you, they'll invite you because they get more than 1 lakh of applications, and out of that, only 140 or 150 get chance to speak in front of the sharks in the tank. So there is no secret. It's just that your idea has to be that good, and you had to have some luck where you'll be selected to pitch your idea.
Fair enough. So I think we touched upon a variety of interesting topics. We spoke about AI, we spoke about personalization, contextual marketing, and the use of data and analytics as well. It's the last one that I want to talk about a little bit more. I think when at the Pula, for example, because we have partnerships across more than 500 publishers, and the way we work is that our pixels are hard-coded across all of these publishers, which means that effectively we are reading millions of data signals every day and tracking consumer journey in a way that we are able to create right audience cohorts with a certain, with a certain strong user intent across categories, like whether it's insurance or FMCG, etc. But when we, look at the consumer journey today, we are realizing that not only is the customer spending more time on the open web, but his interests are also extremely varied. So today's consumer is very savvy, very aware. It's not as simple as I'm just into music, or I'm just into cricket, or I'm just into cars. But his internet personality is multi-dimensional. In the past, brands used to have a strategy around passion points. So they would align themselves to, let's say, music or entertainment or a particular kind of sport and so on. But with the customer's passion points changing so much, and he being this hyper aware, multi dimensional creature on the web, and most of you are tracking him on the web, how do you then align your marketing priorities with such a amoebic, evolving creature? So, would love to hear. I'm sure the audience would be keen to hear from the best marketing minds in the country.
So I think one of the ways, and it's a huge advantage, right? Because earlier you made one piece of communication and hoped that that one piece of communication kind of clicked with that core audience and everybody else was incidental. It doesn't need to be that anymore. Um, one can actually, with AI, have different contexts to the same communication and the core message that get designed and that get served to different audiences. So even when we're doing our
Nice.
media strategy, it's about picking the audiences with certain affinity interests and just ensuring that the communication kind of keeps evolving itself to go to the right audience with the right message. And while that's the broad-based marketing approach, even when we are doing remarketing, for instance, the same remarketing does not work with the consumer across the journeys of for consumers who are coming from with different passion points, right? So you just see so much of richness and improvement in business metrics happen the moment it's also kind of personalization that's happening here, but that's what becomes really, really enabling. And I think on the other note, one of the things that technology is enabling beautifully is participating in consumer conversations. And that sometimes is devoid of this, want to have very hyper segments as marketers love, right? We don't need to create that because then the cue that's coming in is from the consumer conversation versus what as a brand or a manufacturer you want to say. So as an example, one of the things we did is started tracking WhatsApp conversations of a few consumers. Of course, it was all legal, coming
curious to
from the
know how you did that.
right channels. And the moment they spoke about their look or the beard they want to keep, etc., it had the brand cue kind of come in and say, "Ye try kar hai kya?" So, I mean, when I found out about it, I was like, obviously this is too intrusive, but what it did is actually be present at the point when the consumer needs you versus just go kind of say, now you have to see an unskippable ad because I force you to see it. So I think those are some of the powerful ways in which it's happening.
Very interesting. I'm sure you've spiked a lot of curiosity in the room with your last comment.
So we have also used the same tool. If anybody wants to know, so you mentioned about the amount of data which is available. So data has always been important for a marketer, right? Earlier, the data collection method was you had to ask people what they like, what they dislike,
Right.
and humans have this tendency that they want to project
A different
one
version.
image,
Yes.
and when they are in their private space, they are someone else. And is still, so there's a lot of talk about the privacy and data is being used by brands and other agencies, and etc. But even till now, till today, internet is sort of a private space for a consumer, right? So that data can be used not only by a marketer, but I'm sure by an underwriter also in an insurance company. Someone who has mentioned that he is not, he doesn't drink alcohol, and then following up pages related to alcohol brands. So it's just an example, right?
Sure.
Apart from that, so if I break down marketing process, it's data collection, getting insights, and then action, right? So data collection has always been a challenge before internet. There were thousands of researchers in the market, covering the length and breadth of the country and collect data in forms, and then getting that data translated into actionable form, and then getting insights out of it. Now, because that data collection part is sorted,
Right.
thanks to the pixel placed by you or Google or Facebook or any other third party,
Right.
even though there are talks that this would not be available,
Yeah.
when this cookieless
Yeah.
thing will be implemented completely. But thanks to that data collection part is sorted. Now, when it's about getting insights, again, thanks to AI, earlier that insight generation was a task of the team, the big data analytics team. they used to, analyze that data and then make actionable insights in the form of graphs and all, that this is your segment, he's doing that, etc., etc. Now, thanks to AI and the other big data tools, your segment size is now equal to 1. Because you and me, we both like cricket, but you might like Dhoni, I might like Kohli, right? So we are all individuals in a sense, and now thanks to AI, we are recognizing that individuality. So that part is also sorted. Now comes the action or the communication part. Again, thanks to AI, the personalization is in place. So now I can, instead of creating cohorts out of segments or sub-segments and then addressing in someone living in Bangalore or working in an IT company who likes cricket and who is using my competitor's brand, I used to create one set of advertisement for that person, and that advertisement was served to, let's say, 15 lakh people who were falling in that particular segment. Now I can further break it down, and maybe thanks to again the adaptive AI or the generative AI, I can create 1500 different creative without much of an effort, and then serve these creatives to these micro segments.
Precisely. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how
Yes.
AI is helping us out, and that's how now having more data makes more sense. When it was manual, more data you had, it was more of a hustle.
Yeah.
More data you have to analyze more. The lead time from getting data to insights was long. More bandwidth was required. Now everything is like, you can achieve that scale in minutes.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. And I see it real time because, for example, Taboola has something called a creative shop. And the idea behind, sorry, and the idea behind the creative shop is exactly this, that you're able to resize very fast. You're able to do copy and CTA recommendations as per the best practices of the platform. And you can have multiple iterations and versions to drive the hyper personalization and that very unique personality coding that you just spoke of. In fact, there's another very interesting thing that Sachin said, and I want to bring everyone's attention to it, which is that earlier, we were sort of anchored to surveys, etc., to get information and data, and those surveys always gave a colored result. So we would take maybe a 20-30% variation of it as perhaps not even being true. But at least today you have an internet personality, so to say, that is leaving its mark as they travel the web. And so you're able to pick things in a very different way altogether. And here I want to take a very, very interesting example. So we were working with a brand once who wanted to target people with backache issues and so on. So one would imagine that their audience cohorts would have been more on the lines of health and wellness and lifestyle problems and so on. But what we discovered is that actually people who do a lot of binge watching would be prone to backaches simply because of bad posture and everything. So we added a completely new audience cohort of people who are big time into entertainment, movies, OTT, etc., etc. And this new layering of audience had their campaign results go through the roof. And we would have never discovered this had we taken the survey route, but just the fact that that person left his online imprint in a way that brands were able to tap into it. So amazing, I think.
In fact, there are a few tools available in the market who are using APIs from Facebook, Insta, Google,
Right.
and the other public available APIs, and you give your data to that tool, and that tool will tell you other things about people who are in that data set. With what are they consuming, what sort of content they are consuming, what sort of celebrities they like, what sort of destinations they like, and when you go through that data, it is so unintuitive that you would not be able to think about it without seeing it.
No, absolutely. But when it comes to data, it also brings us to the topic of cookies, because a lot of it is, of course, linked to cookies. So would love to hear from everyone, and maybe we'll keep the responses short in the interest of time. But how prepared are you for cookieless? So maybe we start with you, Akash.
So, this will be there, like, this is the way like you get the data. So, this is something like which the consumer has to go through that, and as a brand, we'll be needing that to analyze the data and all. So I think going ahead, this is required, and I think it will be there.
All right.
I think this is like, so I get asked this question a lot of times, and I only answer this is like asking somebody that do humans still want to stay in cave? Just because it was easy to look at them. If you are jungle dwellers, everybody can look at them. Just because if you are looking at house, so how would somebody will hunt you? The problem is not with the cookie or cookieless world. The problem is the intrusion of marketers, the ability that marketer has to intrude into somebody's privacy.
Right.
And if as a brand you are doing the right things, your product and services are right, your communication is right, then the only thing which you require is to take consumer consent, and there are technologies available to get you to do that. Right. Am I right? So the problem is cookieless world will create a problem for people. I mean, I wish there was a way to hold them today, and all of us wish that. But for a reasonable brand with a reasonable consumer connect and with a reasonable tech and martech is tech, tech and martech is tech, I don't think so. I mean, you have a fingerprinting available today. It's not there. On a Web 3.0 kind of a world, you have a asset monetization tools available, whereas a consumer can give you access to his identity wallet because of he or she wants to hear from you. Am I right? So it's just
absolutely.
sad.
I would just say,
Not
because
sad. I would not say it's sad.
No, I said it's just that.
So,
Not sad.
okay, thank God. So, but also at any given point in time, what are marketeers looking at? They are trying to create brand trust. And trust is to do with not infringing into a space which consumers do not want you to get into. Not everything is private, right? And there are many things which is consented, but it's the question of what is not consented for. So I think this is a welcome change. I think policies and other things are important, but preparedness to that, getting yourself trained towards it and managing it in a better way to yet personalize, I think people would love to do that in the same guidelines.
So the most important thing now is to focus on your first party data, build your own data infrastructure, and enrich that data as much as you can.
absolutely.
That's something which will save you when this cookieless world is there.
I would just say that we would need to be prepared for sure. Like at Taboola, we are completely prepared by way of our algorithm and ML. And when we speak to marketers, we see that some of them are not prepared at all. So I think one caution that I would definitely leave on the table is to not take that environment for granted, but find the right partners that can support you, educate you, and help you navigate the cookieless environment. And yes, trust issues will always be there, invasion of privacy, etc. I think these are things that will evolve over time in the interest of the consumer. But as a marketer, since you have to protect your own interest, I would just say that it's best to be prepared. And
Just a small thing is that I think the positive side of it that we'll probably all as marketers have a more human and emotional side to things, because we've become so obsessed with data and we take decisions which are sometimes completely, you wouldn't even imagine taking a decision basis seeing one graph moving up or down, because some things just need time to breathe. And we've just lost the real connect with our consumers. So I think that's going to be a huge positive that might come out of it.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful thought. And I see that our
Just one
time is
thing,
up.
actually.
So,
Sorry. So what we just spoke about, building the trust with the customers, right? I think that is very, very important, very paramount, because if some customer thinks that this is a good brand who is trustworthy, or has my interest in their view and so on, that customer is not going to go anywhere. Even if you have data or don't have data, that customer is going to stay with you, and it's going to actually bring many more customers to you, right? So data, yes, required, important for all of us today, but that's not the only thing, right? The way she said about building the emotional connect, right? That is something which we should not be missed while we are talking about cookieless thing.
I am so glad that we are ending a panel on AI and tech by circling back to trust and human emotions and circling back to what really matters. And I want to close this on a fun note. So I'm going to go around and ask you a question that you have to answer in less than 10 seconds. And preferably give a single word answer. But as a marketer, the question to all of you is, and you have to answer in 10 seconds, what are you guilty of? Akash, go for it. नहीं इतना सोचने का टाइम नहीं है.
What I am guilty of, if a customer is not liking my product,
No. We'll circle back to you. You have to think of a more interesting answer. Like something that you've done as a marketer that you feel यार थोड़ा ज़्यादा झूठ बोल दिया या फर्जी रिव्यू बना दिया या फर्जी ट्रेंडिंग कर ली, something like that. So let's circle back to you. Maybe we go to Gauri.
Can we all ask for more time? No, but I think just invading too much into their privacy sometimes. You should just let them be.
Okay, Ashish.
I think I would be guilty of collecting too much data and then keep thinking about whether should I do X or should I do Y and then
Okay,
Perpetual
overthinking.
debate.
Gaurang.
For me, it would be once the data comes in, the customer, like the prospect starts the journey, then pestering them with the calls, probably, yeah.
Okay, that's a very honest admission. Awesome. There's a prize for the winner, by the way, and I get to pick. Go for it, Nilima.
I think exaggeration, because advertising was always about exaggerating claims. So, but I mean,
Nice answer. Sachin.
I'll say over communication.
Over communication. Okay, Akash, last.
so focusing on the USP again and again.
Okay, so over communication, overthinking, and exaggeration. I'll ask the audience to take the pick. Any common feelings here? Are you also guilty of any of this? Exaggeration. All right, Nilima, you're the winner. Thank you so much. We hope you guys had fun. And thank you very much for such an engaging discussion.